Hey Virgo, happy solar return. Happy days, happy blessings to you, Virgo. August Virgos, at that, this is your season, right? Or this is the beginning of your season. So let's get into your August horoscopes. Virgo rising, sun, and moon. This month is about your past. It can even bring a confrontation when it comes to your past, your beliefs. You're exhausted in some type of way, and the way that you've been holding yourself up to these impossible standards. So on the 6th, Mars is going to be in Libra, which is going to be in your natal second house. This is a house of self worth, survival, value. And it isn't about abundance. This is more about friction, about what you think that you're worth. Mars in Libra is uncomfortable. So here it's going to trigger you, it's going to trigger your conflict over payment, spending. Are you spending to cope with something? There's this frustration around being paid for what you deserve. I think that you may look calmly on the outside, but Mars is definitely provoking your sense of security. If you've been overcharging or undercharging at that, over giving, Virgo, and accepting crumbs, now it ends. It's like you snap. And this isn't about like you snapping because of money. This is tension that you're having with being able to receive money. You'll fight for it, you'll speak up for it. You admit that where your values haven't been lining up with your actions. It's like you snap on your own sense of worth. You deserve more, and you really are ready to go after it. On August 9th, Mars is going to be opposing Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and this is your values versus your intimacy. This is your second house opposing your natal eighth house, and this is the realm of shared resources, debts, sex, secrets. This is a power exchange, and Saturn is the restrictor. Neptune is this illusion, and in the eighth house, this is where other people's stuff starts to affect you. And so it's like you feel like you're hitting a wall, Virgo, and you're hitting a wall with shared resources. This emotional attachment, enmeshment, these common chords. It's now that these joint accounts that you've been entangled with isn't the person who needs you, who isn't always the person who needs you financially and emotionally, if that makes sense. And now it's costing you. It's like you're needing them more than they're needing you, and you're forced to see where you're leaking your power, by staying bonded to people, patterns, pacts that no longer even match your self-worth. Your this opposition exposes you, to where you're confusing loyalty with self-sacrifice. I feel like, Virgo, you are sacrificing yourself a lot, but we know that with K2 in your sign right now, there is a letting go of a lot of these karmic contracts that you're in, or that we're in, because we all have our Virgo placements, and letting go of these karmic attachments, these contracts that we feel that we had with people from different lifetimes, current lovers, or current, or even exes, or just this mirror that's being put up inside you. And with you, Virgo, this is now starting to really show you how it's affecting, and it's been affecting your finances for so long. On the 9th, there's going to also be a full moon in Aquarius, and this is happening in your natal sixth house of health, routines, work, responsibility, and something ends. This can be a schedule, a job, this can be a system, and this is or it can be a mindset about what makes you productive. And because when the moon is in Aquarius, it's very detached. This can feel like a burnout moon. It can feel like you're just way down. You have been keeping it all going for so long, and it's just like, how do I stop doing this? And I just want to stress on the fact again that, Virgo, it is something that you came into this life having a contract to do. So this illusion can break and crack you wide open to see where you have been overdoing, over functioning. You have so much to give, and now it's time for you to calibrate. It's time for you to say, this is enough. It's enough of me giving and not receiving. It is enough of this over friction that I'm having with myself. And maybe you've been silently resenting, certain things, resenting work, this workload, resenting having these responsibilities. You've been naturally like doing these things for so long, and now it's over. It's time. It's time to really move in that sense, or really to like graduate from this type of so-called productivity. And it really asks you, what doesn't want you, or what you don't want, most importantly, because you're now starting to see that the things that you want, the things that want you don't even want, Virgo. And it just collapses and the best way possible. And on the 11th of August, Mercury is going to be going direct in Leo. And Mercury is your ruler, and finally it stations direct. This is your natal 12th house, and your subconscious, and this is the house of your subconscious and like your spiritual closet. And you have been quiet, you have been taking things internally. Things seem a little bit foggy. Even your dream space can be heavy. You can have been, having a lot of dreams. And this Mercury, it's going to force you to go into your own shadows. You really start to come back into like this, your full form. It's not loud, it isn't fast, but you are aware that something is clearer within you. You're starting to be clear about what drains you. When, Mercury goes to wreck, you are starting to see what's no longer a part of your story, but what has been pushed on you, and you're asked to release this in silence. You can be in silence, but like before you try to explain it, you can have to sit in solitude, Virgo. And you won't always have the words, or you may not have the words just yet, but you are stopping lying to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you have stopped lying to yourself, and you're starting to accept that others don't deserve this part of you that is so deep and intimate and sincere and giving and like pouring out, right? You deserve that part of you. On August 12th, Venus is going to be conjuncting Jupiter in Cancer in your natal 11th house. This is a house of networking. This is a house of community, audience, social media, even these long-term goals that you have. And this is a powerful transit, I feel as though, for connection, and not the just because this is a house of cosmic, like this is a house of consciousness. And this is not always this, like connecting to others is not always a good connection, right? These but it is intent, like you have an intent to make a good connection, if that makes sense, right? So you're seeing past these delusions, and the way that people think, or they group together and think the same thing. You're seeing past them. And this Jupiter and like Venus conjunction can bring these viral moments. It can bring new alliances. It can bring fantasy. It can bring fame. It can bring you using this moment wisely to not water yourself down just to be a part of a crowd. You're being strategic. You're being bold. You're not getting high or not getting drunk off of attention. You are not doing what is no longer feeding your soul anymore. Well, don't do it. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Be bold, be proud, but don't get high and drunk off of attention, because that is not going to feed your soul. It's going to feed your soul. It's ultimately you. Okay, and then the sun on the 22nd is going to be entering into your first house, Virgo. Yeah, this is going to be your season. And, first house is the house of your body, your point of evolution, your outward presence. And this is where you are asked for, this is your reset, right? This is your, this is the season of your solar return. And it's not about being perfective or perfection. What is that? Perfected. How do I say that word? It's not about perfection. Okay, I'll just say that. Or being perfect, Virgo. It is about precision. It is about doing things with an ultimate point. It has to have a point to what you're doing things, and you're being asked to see yourself clearly, not with judgment, but with truth. You are holding and you are still standing. Don't actually not don't, but what you are still holding on to just to seem like consistent about it, where you're just doing things just to do things. No, like if you're asking yourself, what are you doing that for? What version of yourself is no longer alive but still in your body? You know what I'm saying? It needs to be defined, it needs to be looked at, and it needs to be resourced. It's time for you to really update your self definition, Virgo. There's going to be a new moon in your sign on the 22nd, and this is like a little mini eclipse for you, Virgo. This is a fresh start. This is something that doesn't really have, it can be aesthetic, but it really goes, I think, soul deep, identity deep, because the moon is asking you to cut ties, to let these cords burn, to set boundaries, to reinvent yourself and how you move in this world. And this month can really be rebirth. That it comes along with this long internal funeral, or this I won't say this long internal funeral, but like this much needed funeral, that it's like the part of you that you were, you can finally grieve and let go of. That does have to do a lot with K2 being in your sign as well. And now you are rebuilding who you actually are on your own terms. On May 25th, Venus is going to be entering into Leo in your 12th house, and Venus here is going to make you feel magnificent in silence. You can draw in love, you can draw in creativity, you can be more artistic with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have this insight, not through performance but through presence. Don't push it, but let some things grow in the dark for now. Some of your deepest power is becoming visible, and that is to you. This month is really going to strip away what isn't real, and not everything is real, if that makes sense to you, Virgo. It makes sense to me. Like, not everything is real that we see. And sometimes these jobs aren't real, or they aren't alive, and they're not real for us. So we should just leave them for the people who actually want them. These relationships that drain us, we should just leave that for the old version of us. You know what I'm saying, Virgo? And the roles that no longer reflect you, you can let them go now. You're not here to be efficient. You're not here to be responsible every single second. You're here to be authentic. You're here to grow into who you are. And this month really asks you to shed the systems that keep you small. And now it's time for you to step into the season of, there's no filter that you have. There's no filter on your sense of self, and there's no guilt for that either, Virgo. Okay, so that's all I have for you, Virgo. I hope that was helpful. Yours is the longest. um I'll see you guys in the next video. Definitely don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you, Virgo. Bye bye.